We begin with the latest from India, where a senior minister in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has stirred a storm of introspection over the country's startup ecosystem. At an event in New Delhi, the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal compared Indian startups with the ones in neighbouring China. Now, the minister said that Indian startups are making food delivery apps to turn unemployed youth into cheap labour. On the contrary, the Chinese startups are developing electric vehicle and battery technology to dominate these sectors.
What are India's startups doing today? We are focused on food delivery apps, turning unemployed youth into cheap labor so the rich can get their meals without moving out of their house. And against that, what does a Chinese startup do? Work on developing electric mobility, battery technologies, and with that they're today dominating the electric mobility ecosystem. We are very proud of what India has done. But are we the best in the world as yet? Not yet. Should we aspire to be? Or are we going to be happy being delivery boys and girls?
The minister showed a detailed comparison between Indian and Chinese startups to point out that Indian startups are focused on areas such as fancy ice cream and cookies, instant grocery delivery, betting and fantasy sports apps, and quote-unquote influencer economy. Meanwhile, in neighbouring China, the startups are focused on fast-emerging technologies such as semiconductors and AI, robotics and automation, global logistics and trade, and deep tech. Now, Minister Piyush Goyal's remarks have ignited diverse reactions within the Indian startup ecosystem. Indian ride-hailing app Ola's founder, Bhavish Aggarwal, agreed with the minister and said that it's time to build the future, not the past. Meanwhile, the founder of the instant grocery delivery platform, Zepto, said that it's easy to criticize Indian consumer internet startups, especially when compared to the US and China. The 22-year-old said that the Indian startup ecosystem, the government and investors must support the local entrepreneurs instead of pulling them down. Minister Piyush Goyal's remarks have touched a nerve, while triggering debate both on and off social media on the direction that the Indian startups are taking at present. India, as of December 2024, has over 157,000 functional startups. It's up from just 502 in 2016, making it the third biggest startup ecosystem in the world. But as emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and electric mobility take over the global entrepreneurial landscape, the startup ecosystem of the world's most populous nation is also feeling the need to step in the same direction. Now, speaking at an artificial intelligence summit in Paris in February, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had informed that India is building its own large language model, or LLM, which is key to building advanced AI chatbots such as the US-based ChatGPT or China's DeepSeek.
India is building its own large language model considering our diversity. We also have a unique public-private partnership model for pooling resources like compute power. It is made available to our startups and researchers at an affordable cost.
With Minister Goyal's remarks and Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on an indigenous large language model, India's role in emerging technologies like AI and electric mobility will be closely watched in the immediate future. But as the world moves further in the technology age, can India shift from consumer-driven startups to tech innovation? For more on this, we have with us Mr. Madan Padaki. Thank you for being with us. He is an entrepreneur joining us live from New Delhi. Let's jump right in.
Hi.
Now, Minister Goyal pointed out that... Hi, thanks for being with us. Now, Minister Goyal pointed out that while China is making significant strides in sectors like EVs and AI, India's startup ecosystems still look heavily skewed toward food delivery and similar services. What structural or policy changes would be needed to shift Indian startups toward deep tech and to core innovation?
Sure. Thanks you for having me on the show. In fact, I am at the Startup Mahakumbh event in Delhi where Minister Goyal made these comments yesterday, and I was in the audience. From my reading, of course, he said it from the perspective of having Indian startups push the boundaries and push the envelopes much further than what we're doing today. So I see where he is coming from and see the reason why he's taking that call. I also believe that it's not an either or choice. For the size of India's country and population, we need to do both. There has to be conveniences, access, choice, and convenience that has to be brought up for citizens, as well as we need to invest much more in deep tech, AI startups, and build for the future. From a structural standpoint, work is underway, but connecting our academic institutions with innovation that is happening in the industrial marketplaces, enabling students to play around with these technologies, getting exposed to these emerging technologies of the future, and tinkering around with them is the key. As an example, we had 10 startup teams from various colleges across the country pitching yesterday, and you'll be amazed at the kind of ideas in deep tech and AI that these students were thinking about. So I think we are on the right track, but we need to accelerate the whole effort, much beyond what we are doing today.
Right, Madan. So definitely a matter of context and some encouraging news there. Do you think that the comparison with China's innovation-driven approach is fair, given the differences, as you touched on there, in government support, infrastructure, and, of course, market dynamics? And what lessons, if any, can Indian startups draw from China's model?
Yeah. I mean, of course, these are two different systems, political, the way the system works. India and China are two different models. But having said that, there are several things to learn from the approach. There's a long-term patient capital approach that needs to be taken, especially if we want to foster deep tech innovations. We have to bring some kind of a mission mode approach to solving for this, where we have to bring all the relevant ecosystem actors together. That's slowly beginning to happen here. We also need to bring the industry to the table in a big way and connect them to trends and innovation that's happening in the research labs. And of course, at a larger level, I think India needs to spend a lot more of our GDP on R&D. We are still pretty low compared to China. So I think these are the lessons we can learn from the models that are prevalent there.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost.
Thank you so much.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Russia.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.